I am so excited today because we have my great friend and old friend, Becky Bailey. Becky, thank you for coming and joining us today.
Oh my gosh, just to be with you, Sarah, is the treat of it all. But thank you for inviting me.
Now, let me tell you, 73 countries?
77 countries.
22 languages?
22 languages.
Over probably close to 3 million books.
I would guess around
20
that.
million children.
And I think that's the big number, the 20 million.
Of course it's
children.
the big number because, what do we want to do as teachers and educators but to change the world?
Yes.
And you've done that. And you're still continue to do it. So thank you for coming in. I want to do 3 things today.
Okay.
I want you to tell your story about how you got started, why you got started, how conscious discipline took off and became something every single teacher and parent and grandparent wants to know about. And then what it is exactly. And then last and least, we're going to play a little game called Peekaboo in Africa. Okay?
Perfect.
All right, Becky, I met you when I was on the team that was looking for early childhood to get put on the map at UCF. And you came from an Indian reservation.
Well, I came from Montana, which before that I came from an Indian reservation.
Okay,
yes, I did for 10 years.
For 10 years you were there?
Yes.
And so you came to UCF. You did put early childhood on the map. We both did it together.
I think we did it together. I don't think there was any you. It was us and a team behind us.
A huge team. But actually, I was just thinking about our roots, and I remember we got a building built. I mean, you can't get buildings built. We did.
No.
You planned it? You designed it?
I mean, the idea was, of course, to have teachers are said, sometimes when you go out as a teacher and you go to student teaching and all that, and you learn what not to do,
right?
Which you can't do. You can only learn what to do.
That's right.
So we kind of collaborated trying to make a classroom in conjunction, and this was the miracle right there. The university and the public school system that's unheard of at that day and time.
Well, and we did it because we did it together.
Yes.
It was a lot of fun. And then I remember we started, you brought something called play therapy. And I got a call one day from one of my greatest friends and principals who said, Sarah, you're not going to believe this. We've got a kid who is just today, he took the tiles out of the ceiling. He's 5 years old. He's in kindergarten. He went all over the school. We don't know what to do with him. And I said, I'll call Becky. And what did we do, Becky?
Well, we started these groups. It was a form of play therapy called TheraPlay, which deals with not fixing a child or fixing a parent. It's the dynamics between the two of us. It's our relationships that need to be healed. And so we would play activities with these children and respond to them and encourage them in a different way than they were used to. And in doing that, it reorganized their brain, reorganized their behavior, and we had a lot of fun and struggles.
And success.
Because
we went a lot of places.
Yes, we did.
I was just reminding you of the story of the little boy you said to me, and I remember playing with him on the floor, and I was drawing around his body, and he said, when I get big, I'm going to go and I'm going to get a gun, and I'm going to come and I'm going to find you, and I'm going to shoot you right in the mouth. And I remember thinking, okay, there's more to this. He wants me to shut up. Okay. But that was what we were dealing with. And this was 1990.
Yeah.
Hey, you brought something else up. The brain.
Yes.
Where did that start? The decade of the brain were the 90s, right?
Yes. And we were at 1990, so we were at the first, and we made that first recording. And to my knowledge, there wasn't anybody doing that in education in 1990, but you and me that I know of.
And we called it Brain Smart.
We called it Brain Smart.
That's right. And we thought we had changed the world. And we started a lot of that, and it was really wonderful. Yeah. So tell me, why did you get involved in early childhood and all of the brain and the play, and then how it evolved into conscious discipline? Why did you, Miss Becky Bailey, do that?
I think, in everyone's life, there's turning points or critical moments. And so they stacked for me very vividly. So at 17, I was in a car wreck and actually died. So in that death experience, I had, whether it was just neurological in my brain or whatever anybody wants to call it, I actually literally experienced the oneness of us all. And it's hard to put in words because there's no body, there's no eyes, there's no ears, but the oneness was real.
Okay.
So that was step one.
Okay.
And I know for a fact in my body, every human on this planet is a cell of the same body. Now that changes how you act. That changes how we need to approach things when you come from that position. Then life goes on, and then I end up on the reservation. Mm-hmm. And their belief system was so different.
Okay.
You know, if you watch them from outside, you'd say, who's looking after those kids? Well, everyone is. Everyone is. And also their frame of their relationship with the earth, their relationship with healing, their relationships. And so here's they had these beautiful outside things. I'll tell you how stupid I was. Everybody had this kind of dome thing outside. And I looked at them, little white girl from Florida, and I thought, why they all have dogs? Well, it was their ovens. That's how much I knew going into this. But what they taught me was so powerful about the embeddedness of culture into what we do, and also all these ancestral wounds that we carry on and on and on and on. But most of all, it shook my belief system. And so then I thought, well, if I just change mine 180, we could all change 360 or whatever we want if you're willing and if you convinced yourself. So one, we're all one. Mm-hmm. Two, you can change your mind at any time.
Right.
And then I think the third one was experiencing my parents who both had Alzheimer's.
Oh, wow.
So it put me into the fact, so we're about control. Everyone wants to control something, and we try to control each other with rewards and punishments. But that being aside, I ran into a situation I couldn't control. And my mind would every day, this lasted 15 years of my life, so this wasn't one moment. I would try to outsmart this disease. Wow. And you can't. So I'm thinking, well, if I do this and do this, and if I do this and I try this, then they would respond and all that was it blew out that notion that we have any control over another human, no matter how smart and tricky we think we are. So we had to be unified. Mm-hmm. We had to be able to change our mind. We needed to be connected without controlling. And those three things became the foundation later on of conscious discipline.
And why the schools? Because I remember us sitting at that restaurant talking about all these things, and you would think about it, and you put it into an orderly way that teachers and parents and grandparents could then take it and try it. That's what you did. You took all of this and you put it into a systematic method. And I remember many lunches.
Oh my gosh!
Through that, right?
Yeah, I remember that booth.
I think it had our name.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
And yes, and I think the synthesis of it.
Okay.
I think if I said I would have a skill set,
right,
I would say I can take what people would call disparate information from all different disciplines and genre, and I have the ability to go and go, because of that first thing where I know everything is connected. Oh, so I don't read this and think it sits by itself. I'm like, well, that connects to this over here, and that connects to this over here. So that, again, that depth experience I synthesize it in a way that we want to use it. It doesn't need to be this airy-fairy neuroscience, or it doesn't have to be all this in-depth stuff, but how do we make it practical so I can use it?
So you did. You made I Love You rituals. You made Schubert. You did all these things that have now become just the toolbox for teachers in the classroom. If I mention the name Becky Bailey, people are revered. You are revered in the classroom. Mm-hmm. You are, and it's wonderful for me to see, because I keep wanting to say, but I remember when she started.
Yeah. Can I tell you a story about how that came about? Okay. So I was up in Leon County. That's in Tallahassee, Florida, and I was young. This is one of those moments again. I must have been I don't know. I was before I graduated from any college.
Okay.
And I went on a field trip with the mentally challenged.
Okay.
And I just wanted to do it. And we went to this lake out in Tallahassee. And all the kids adored the water. And so and they got in the water. They had a great time. But then it was time to get out. Okay. And all the kids came because it was time for lunch. So they came out of the water, everyone except Marcus. Marcus did not get out of that water. And I watched the teacher say, "Come on, Marcus, come in." They started very calm. And then they got very frustrated. Mm-hmm. And in that frustration, they threatened him. Mm-hmm. They tried to bribe him. "Don't you want a candy bar? Yeah. We're going to leave you in the water. Everyone's going to go." I mean, they tried what we would call all our educational tools at the time, rewarding and punishing. And I watched that. And then finally, the director came out there to help the teacher and said, "Marcus," and he held up his lunch bag. And he said, "If you don't get out of that water right now, I'm throwing your lunch in the trash can." Now, I'm a kid. I might have been 19, 20. I hadn't graduated. So I said, wait. Yeah. There's got to be a better way. That's my exact words. I said, there's got to be a better way.
You were the student.
I was a student, volunteered on this. And so I said, let me go in. I think I can get Marcus out.
Yeah.
And he says, "Well, do you have, are you a behavioral specialist?" I said, "No." He says, "Do you have an education degree?" I said, "No, I'm just volunteered. I'm a kid." And I said, "Just give me 3 minutes. Let me get in the water." I walked in with my clothes on in the water to Marcus. And 3 minutes later, I walked out and I was completely unsuccessful, completely unsuccessful. I went in with an intention, with not a skill in my toolbox. And it was that moment when I came out and I said and he never got out of the water, and they did threaten him and drag him out. And it was horrible. And I said to myself that day, I will get the degrees and I will find a better way. And I will spend the rest of my life, because I know for a fact right now, if Marcus was in that water with the skills and the beliefs and the tools I have now, I could have gone in there, got a relationship with Marcus, and we'd have walked out hand in hand into that pond. But at that time, I didn't. So that's why my stuff is so practical. Thank you for Marcus, because
yes, thank you for Marcus, and thank you for Becky.
Yeah,
because you put into an orderly manner what most of us did not know how to do. Because I find myself going back in time sometimes and saying, "Come on, let's go. No. Come on, I said so." Why? Because I said so. I mean, we do that. It just comes out. We can't help ourselves at times. And yet, when I go back and I review so much that I learned when we were together, I know there is a better way, and it works. It works. Just a couple days ago, my granddaughter didn't want to go to school. "I don't want to go, Mimi. You don't want to go." And I'm thinking, okay, my job is to get her there. Now, how am I going to do this? "I don't want to go, Mimi. I'm not going to go." And I'm thinking, well, what could be so bad about school? I mean, that's not the deal. The deal was she needed comfort. She needed quiet. She needed me to sit there beside her, and then she was ready to go to school. Yeah. It was crazy, but I had to change my mad. Because sometimes she'll say, "Mimi, why are you mad at me?" I said, "I'm not mad." She says, "You sound mad." Mm-hmm. I don't even know I'm sounding mad.
Right.
Yeah. So tell us why the words conscious discipline, because it tells me exactly what it is, but why? Why did you choose it?
Well, discipline, not like punishment, but discipline like in the military. Let's just call that discipline enough to set and achieve a goal. That takes a lot of discipline. I'm trying to lose a few pounds, and I can tell you my discipline gets shaky, especially at a party. Yeah. Okay, so discipline enough to set and achieve goal, and conscious enough to know when you're off in the weeds. You've got yourself off track. It's not going the way. I got to be aware, like you said, aware of my tone, aware that she was aware, your granddaughter was aware,
me with no uncertain
but
terms.
You weren't aware. So you had to be conscious enough. You are off your value system. You're off your track, and then willing enough, which is to change and come back to your chosen path of whatever you think is your goal or what you'd like to achieve for yourself. So that's conscious discipline.
And so you named it, you created it, you started it, and then how did it go?
Oh my gosh. So this was 1996, and somebody has to do the math for me. And I know it's not you because we're just not math folks up here. But at that point, talking about consciousness, being awareness, talking about our inner world.
Right.
Everybody talks about our outer world. Parents do the outer world. This is a dog. This is the color red. But no one says, oh, your face is telling me you feel sad. No one talks about our inner world. So talking about the inner world and shifting from rewards and punishment, controlling others, to self-regulation so I could regulate myself enough to be a guide for others or a model for others, that was unheard of. So I'd get up there and whoever would have me, and they'd sit there with their arms folded and they're like, okay. And you could just see them as I kept talking a little bit, their arms would start to relax and they'd start to open up.
Yeah.
But it was few and far between. So we went from few and far between, and we were on the cutting edge of a need. People had serious situations in their own lives and with children. And this was in 96. So you can imagine how it's manifested now in 2025. So they needed help. And I think we were there at the right time to start a movement in this country, because now I look at, my goal was to change every elementary school in the country.
And you did.
Well,
you did.
I influenced it. So stuff now that was new is kind of standard practice.
Right.
And that doesn't have conscious discipline or my name on it, but because teacher told teacher, this works, this does this.
Right.
And that viral community just changed our approach to education.
So conscious discipline, I know, is everywhere. And it's there because you gave it a name and you gave it a practice and you gave it a way to do it. So before we end today, just give us one quick thing a parent can do. And then our second in our series is going to be all about things people can do, like their I love you rituals and things like that. Okay, one thing.
One thing I think that if you could change our mind first, because I always start with changing our perception, because our perception dictates our action.
Right.
So I would encourage every parent to see their child's behavior, what we would call good or bad, because there is no such thing.
Right.
But I would see their behavior as a form of communication. Like a little baby points, and we go, oh, you want the bottle. That we do it when they're babies. Then all of a sudden they get two and say no, and we lose our cookies. It's like, that's it. Yeah. I don't know what to do now. But if a child throws themselves on the floor screaming, that tells me they can't regulate their own nervous system. Right. They need me.
Yeah.
So it's not disrespect. It's not disobedience. It's a form of communication. And they're trying to tell us the skills they're missing. And we then get into kind of a moral judgment based on our past experiences. And we're kind of generationally passing stuff down that I don't think we consciously want to.
Wow. Wow. You are so on target. Well, thank you for joining us and thank you for tuning in, because you've learned one thing you can do. Our next series is going to teach you even more. And if you like this, click like and subscribe.